Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. And if you are just tuning in with me for the very first time, it's so nice to meet you. And I'm really glad you're here with me today. I am your host, Heather Carey, nutritionist, chef, mom, and a woman who has been around the block with food. I want to open up about real food in relation to health, weight, and our bodies so you can make peace with what you eat. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Food Stories, where we talk about the messy, beautiful, and ever-changing relationship we have with food, health, and ourselves, especially as women in our 40s and beyond. Today, I want to talk about something that's been on my heart lately, and that is community. Now, if you're anything like me or like many of the women I work with, you've probably had moments where you have felt really alone about navigating midlife. I mean, I certainly have had more than my share of this feeling like no one else gets me. The body changes, the hormone shifts, the mood swings, the weight struggles, and the endless advice, quote unquote advice online that just doesn't seem made for us. So that's why I created the Well-Nourished Woman. This is a free community. It's off social media, which I love. There's no more scrolling through Facebook, getting caught up in somebody else's ads and getting distracted and then wondering why you're even on Facebook in the first place. This is off social media and it is for women 40 plus. It's where you can show up as you are, no judgment. You can ask questions, get answers grounded in real science, and connect with other women who get it. Now, I'm just starting this community. We're just getting ourselves off the ground, and I already have an amazing group of women in there. But let me tell you a little bit about what else you'll find if you join the community. You will get fresh seasonal recipes that actually support your hormones and your energy. And I'm about to launch a summer recipe club because I know we all get out of ideas about actually what to make. I'm going to be having Q&A threads where I answer your real life nutrition and lifestyle questions. I want to talk in there about the latest well-researched insights on what's happening in our bodies and what actually really helps. And most of all, I want to be there to offer support. I mean, real support from me, from other women who aren't here to sell you a cleanse or just trying to convince you to just try harder or just suck it up or tough it out. So please join the Well-Nourished Woman community. It's free, and the link is going to be in my show notes. I would love to see you in there. Now, on today's episode, this is a perfect reflection of why that kind of space matters. I sat down with Erika Shannon, who is also a menopause coach, and just talking openly with her reminded me how powerful it is to be seen and heard. That conversation I had with her, it was medicine in itself, and you definitely don't want to miss it. So if you've ever felt like you're figuring out this all alone, know that you don't have to. So let's dive in with my conversation with Erika. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Food Stories podcast. Today, I've got Erika Shannon with me, and Erika is a fitness and wellness industry expert with 2 decades of experience under her belt. Erika, like me, is a certified menopause coaching specialist and helps women on their menopause journey optimize their lives and reduce their symptoms through exercise, nutrition, sleep regulation, stress management, and self-care. She's also a Gen X mom of a tween daughter and a woman officially in perimenopause. And I am your host, Heather Carey, a woman who is officially in menopause and about to be postmenopausal. So hi, Erika. I'm so glad you're here today. And after meeting and talking to you off air, I'm really looking forward to this chat because I think it's such a cool opportunity. You are in your early 40s and going through perimenopause, and I am in my late 50s, fully in menopause.
Yes,
And
I'm actually in my late 40s. I just turned 49.
oh, you just turned 49. I thought you were
Yeah,
42.
yes.
I don't. Okay. All right, great. Well, you're
But I
still.
started going through perimenopause in my early 40s, so we
Oh,
could talk
okay.
about that.
Maybe that's what I heard, but still, you're in your 40s,
Yes.
which is
Hanging on by
still
a thread.
you're
Yes.
still like a young buck in like the menopause world, and I am like on the tail end of 57. So I thought it would be great to just have a real conversation about what this transition looks like from both
Yeah.
sides.
We
And
need real conversations about this, so it's important. Thanks for doing this and for having
absolutely.
me.
Yeah, of course, because there's so much confusion out there about hormones, about fitness, about nutrition. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am on the internet, social media, just kind of stalking people's pages because I am just endlessly fascinated with some of the quackiness I see and just and the confusion because women are so, I mean, we're in a very vulnerable time right now. So and marketing wellness gurus, they know that, so they're going to try to sell us the gamut of products and supplements and ways to do menopause and kind of tell us that it's wrong. And so I know that you're going to have a lot of insight to share from your fitness perspective, especially. So thanks
Yeah.
for joining me. I'm excited to dive in. So why don't we just start? Can you share a bit about your journey? My listeners have certainly heard a lot about my journey. I've talked about my menopause experience kind of endlessly on this podcast. So what brought you into the world of fitness and then into menopause coaching?
Well, I came to New York City after college to be a Broadway star. I was a musical theater person, and after after a few years, I kind of burnt out on that. I made a little career switch, and I went from being a performer to a manager, a theatrical general manager, and then I started becoming like a real gym rat. And I had this amazing mentor, and she asked me if I would be interested in general managing her fitness company. And so I made the switch from theater to fitness on the management and production side. And then through her, I started teaching, and that was in 2006, so 19 years ago. Um, and I taught for Equinox and Reebok and all those kind of big box gyms in New York City. And then I eventually got bought by Soul Cycle and worked for them for a while. And it was actually at Soul Cycle when I started feeling the effects of perimenopause. I was in my early 30s. Early 40s. I had a young daughter who was, kind of approaching the kindergarten era, and I was assigned 5:30 a.m. classes 2 times a week. And so 2 times a week I had to get up at 3:45 in the morning so that I could get ready and get myself to Short Hills, New Jersey to teach at 5:45, and it was brutal, and it started affecting me in really weird ways. Like I was feeling really depressed. I wasn't able to sleep even though I knew I had to sleep. My circadian rhythm was all thrown off, and I did it for about 7 months, and then I went to see my doctor, and I was like, what am I feeling? I'm feeling like angry, and I'm feeling this." And he's like, "Well, you might be in perimenopause, and sleep has a lot to do with that. It can really make your symptoms worse if you don't have a regular sleep schedule." And I was like, "Really?" And that was when I discovered that perimenopause lasts as long as it does, because back then, I think it was like 2017 or something like that. I was like, I didn't know a lot about menopause and perimenopause. Definitely nobody was talking about it back then, and nobody in the fitness industry was talking about it back then either. And it's clear to me now, with hindsight being 2020, that there really was nothing for perimenopausal, menopausal women from a fitness perspective, because it was all about high intensity training back then. And that's just not what our bodies want to do when we're going through this phase. So I promptly dropped that 5:45 a.m. class and started paying attention to my cycle, my hormones, my just like my sleep schedule and how it affected how I felt. And so when I started, in the fitness industry, you have to get continued education credits. And so I started focusing more on women's health. I started focusing my continued education on perimenopause, active aging, and anything I could get my hands on, understanding hormones, heart rate, performance, all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of how I started falling down the rabbit hole of helping women this age learn how to exercise safely and be healthy. And it's really an all encompassing thing. Like fitness is just one spoke of the wheel, but there are definitely things that we want to change at this age. We can't do what we used to.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky that your doctor even said you might be in perimenopause because just, back up even when I was turning in my early 40s and I had an inkling that this be perimenopause. I was just having some menopause type symptoms, even though I was still getting my period and
Mhm.
everything. And my doctors were like, I don't know what you're talking about. There was like perimenopause, like didn't even have like there was no name for it.
Yeah.
And I knew enough to think like, could I should I go on hormones? And I just had my PCP told me that she would rather go to jail than be on estrogen. I think in my just even those couple of years difference from your age to my age, there was just more, it was just a big secret.
Huge secret, and
No one
everybody
talked about
very
it.
afraid of hormone therapy.
Very
Hmm.
afraid. My gynecologist was very afraid, my PCP, and no one suggested, yeah, hormones to me at all. But I knew, I feel like I just knew enough. I wanted to definitely get on hormones because I was having some symptoms that were becoming really bothersome. Now, I want to talk about the fitness and, that connection, but tell me, I mean, beyond your energy at
Hmm.
the 5:30 a.m. energy, which I
Hmm.
totally get, would not work for me either.
Horrible.
Were you having other symptoms
At
that
that point, I wasn't. Um, at that point, actually, that was around the time when I had an endometrial ablation because I had polyps in my uterus and I was having
mm,
really painful periods and really big bloating situations where it was really incapacitating for me as a fitness instructor and an on-camera instructor, and I couldn't work when that would happen. And so I finally did go get an ultrasound and they found polyps. And so at that point, my doctor said, "Listen, if you're done having kids and you don't want to deal with your period anymore and it is painful," he's like, "I'm already going up there to take these polyps out. Like, do you want an ablation?" And I was like, really on the fence because, having the inside of your body cauterized on purpose is kind of it's a big choice.
yeah,
And in the end, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And I haven't had a period since, which makes perimenopause that much more interesting because
yes,
I have to gauge my cycle based on my symptoms, which I can do because I'm a nerd like that. But but it wasn't until a couple years ago that I started being really affected by it. Like I didn't go on hormone therapy till last year because my symptoms were pretty mild and I was able to regulate. But when the hot flashes started, and then I got really depressed, I had bad cyclical depression. And that's how I knew it was hormonal because every month there was a couple days that it was just horrible. I would cry and I would wallow and I would be so I was inconsolable. And I have been in so many different spiritual practices and so many different ways of, self-regulating and knowing how to pull yourself out of it and practicing gratitude and all the tools that I had in my toolbox with almost 20 years of learning had no effect. And I knew that that was what it was. And so that was when I started getting serious about taking better care of myself. And I started first by trying to regulate myself without taking hormones just to see. And then in the end, I just made the decision. I wanted the whole shebang. But I started with the topical vaginal estrogen, which was for the genitourinary syndrome of menopause because the vaginal dryness is something that really was bothering me. And so that helped that tremendously. And then I was like, okay, let's try the patch and the little progesterone pill. And I feel so much better. And I haven't had a hot flash in a long time. But yeah, and it can present differently in every single woman. There's no formula, which is what makes it maddening.
Yeah, it's so individualized that your
Yeah.
symptoms might not be my symptoms. And I think a lot of women, I think we're getting much more educated now, but again, just back up to my 40s, that no one no one talked about it. I mean, I had no friends talking about it to me. It was like a big secret. And I pushed for hormones back then.
Mm, that's
And
awesome.
and no, was having really bad vaginal dryness and definitely having hot flashes and everything. And yeah, but it was met with a lot of resistance from doctors. And definitely if I could barely even talk to my friends about it because they were like it was just like so taboo. But it
I
sounds
know. It's all
like
of a
your
sudden our entire
doctors,
identity as women is going down the toilet and we have
yeah,
nobody to talk to about it because we're
right.
afraid we're the only one, but
Yes.
we're definitely not.
No. Well, now fast forward, I have friends who are just starting hormones now because I think it's becoming more accepted. And
Yeah, and
we
there's new
know that
research.
it's
There's a ton of
safe.
new research out now.
Yeah. So we know that the studies from back in the 2000s have been debunked.
Thank
Hormones
God.
are safe for most women.
Hmm.
And it's a and it can be super, super helpful for some of these symptoms because all the amount of exercising, all the amount of food and nutrition is not going to take away your hot flashes, right? Or your vaginal dryness. It's just not, we really do need some intervention.
Yeah, the body is depleted of estrogen and progesterone, and that affects every major organ system in the body.
Yeah.
And I think, as a menopause coach specialist, that's the one thing that I was like, oh my God, like when I did that certification, I couldn't even believe how I mean, I knew it felt like it overtook everything, but it was proven in that certification that, oh my God, like that is why my palms are itchy. That is why I can't remember my middle name. That is why I'm having trouble regulating my body temperature because estrogen receptors are everywhere in our bodies.
Yeah. I mean, right? Estrogen affects us from head to toe,
Mhm.
literally. Our brains, our bones, our heart, our digestion, our weight distribution. It literally affects everything. So these subtle symptoms that you would never think might be caused by an estrogen deficiency
Yeah.
are definitely can be menopause for sure.
I
But
get questions from people sometimes that are like, "Do I have perimenopause?" And I'm like, "Do I have it?" It's so funny. It's like a disease. But it's like,
right.
are you a woman in your 40s? Then you're in perimenopause. There's no question. Like it is
Yeah,
just happening. It's just the
you're
way
in
it
it.
goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Welcome to menopause, the transition. It's
Yeah.
here for you.
The
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. And some women can sort of like slide through and have no symptoms really, or like minimal. They barely even notice it.
Right.
And some women get wrecked with it. How do you navigate for like your clients the fear that they might still have around using hormones?
Well, the first thing I do is just tell them that I'm not a doctor and tell them that I'm there to help them advocate for themselves. But what I want them to know, and I think the saddest thing that I'm discovering as a coach, is how many of us gaslight ourselves into thinking that it's not what it is. How many of us gaslight ourselves into like, oh, I'm probably just making it up. Just to give them some reassurance that what they're feeling is real and valid is a major part of my job. And then to help guide them to someone who can listen. Often they're going to see a PCP who doesn't have the right education, or they're going to see an OBGYN who graduated in the 90s when, or, in that early 2000s pocket where we learned that the WHI was all over it saying it caused breast cancer. And so they're going off of old research. So then I send them to menopause.org and I say, you got to find another provider. And if they are concerned about the risks, you have to teach them what the benefits are and then have them talk to their doctor about determining if the benefits outweigh the risks for them as a person with their health history at their age, at their phase of menopause. And 9 times out of 10, the benefits outweigh the risks, especially as we grow older, especially if we start that hormone therapy within that 10-year pocket before and after menopause. That's when we see the greatest benefits of hormone
Right.
therapy as far as bone strength, lean muscle mass, balance and coordination, brain function, cognitive function.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm happy that I knew enough back in my 40s to go, but it wasn't back in my 40s, I wasn't really thinking about those other secondary benefits like bone health and
No, nobody is.
because it wasn't talked about back then.
Right.
But now I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I did end up going on it when I did because I mean I've sometimes try to talk some of my friends or like even clients into like not I'm not pushing it, right? Everyone's individual and it is
Hmm.
their individual choice to go on it. But right, the sooner you start it, the more long-term benefits you can have
Yeah. I think
from
the
it.
other hurdle too is that people think they need a blood test. People think they need all this hormone, like a
Yes,
hormone panel workup. When the truth is, and I will always say, if you want to get a blood test, go get a blood test. Like you can, because always rule out other possibilities with thyroid or anything else. I think that's great to
absolutely.
do that. But your hormones fluctuate so often, wildly, chaotically, that it's only a snapshot and it's not an accurate, point
Yeah,
of,
well, that's just a
source of
marketing
truth.
scam too, right? I mean, so
Hmm.
I really steer people away from going to those like menopause clinics or, where they're like, you need to do testing and even food sensitivity testing, all sorts of like totally unnecessary, expensive testing.
Hmm.
You're in menopause. I mean, you're in perimenopause. You're in your late 40s. You are definitely perimenopausal. Every
Yeah. And
single
here
woman
is the
on the
list of
planet goes through it.
symptoms, and you
Yes.
have them all.
Yeah. And you're good. Right. And when you're stop getting your period, then you definitely are postmenopausal. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need a test for that. You
I
don't need
also
to.
think another helpful thing to tell clients whenever they're doubting it is say, "Are you on birth control? Have you ever been on birth control?" Because that is so much riskier and so much higher dose than menopausal hormone therapy. And
Well,
you've been on it with no question for how many
yeah,
years? 30 years, 40 years?
that's the amazing thing is that
Yeah.
I think some women are perfectly okay with being on birth control pills.
Hmm.
And then when you suggest hormone therapy, it's like, oh, that feels really dangerous, which is it's really like a tenth of the dose of a
Hmm.
birth control pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting the psychology behind it that we've just been trained, or we've been trained also just to. It's menopause is just something you got to suck up, and
Yeah. Deal with it.
you got to just deal with that, and it's gonna suck for a number of years, and then you get through it, but you don't really. I mean, you never get over
No,
menopause.
and you don't enjoy your life. I mean, that depression that I experienced was debilitating.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to live like that.
no,
It
you should
sucks the
never.
life out of you.
Yeah,
You don't want to live like that and you don't have to. So why would you make that choice?
just going off of that, I know that. So for women who are like think that medication is bad, all medication's bad, and they want to do things naturally,
Hmm.
right? So let's talk about some of those myths that we hear in like the fitness world, especially in the nutrition world,
Okay.
about how to help hormones. Because back when I was in my 40s, early 40s, I mean, there was all sorts of herbs, right? Because hormones were bad, so we were going to
Hmm.
try to take ginseng and eat tofu and soy milk and
Ashwagandha and
ashwagandha.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and all things like that. And these wellness gurus are just they're just taking advantage of women who are
In a
very
big
vulnerable.
way.
And in the fitness world too, I see a lot on social media about I want to talk about like weighted vests and strength training. I mean, a lot of these things are good or maybe not so good, or so let's talk about them first. Let's go into the fitness.
Okay.
Um, Tell me about weighted vests because this is a very hot topic with women in my circle right now. Are weighted
Oh,
vests
really?
good or are they just a total marketing scam?
I think they're great, to be honest. I have one. But you've got to get one that's right for your body and for your weight. You should get 10% of your body weight for your vest. But if the thing about a weighted vest is when you work out with a weighted vest on, or even when you walk with a weighted vest on, you put more load on your body, and so that you're gonna work harder to do what you usually do. So that's going to increase your caloric output. It's going to increase your heart rate, and those things are all good. So why wouldn't you do those things? Where I see people get a little bit misguided around weighted vests are if they're wearing one that's too heavy, if they're wearing one that's too light, just a waste, and if they're experiencing pain, like if you have some sort of skeletal situation that you shouldn't be wearing that weighted vest, or for example, like if you have osteoporosis, like talk to your doctor before putting on extra weight that's going to give you extra impact. If you have, really fragile bones, you have to think about where you are. Always start where you are. And if you haven't gotten out to walk a mile in 10 years, go walk a mile first without putting on a weighted vest for a little while and then put on the weighted vest. And I would say that about weights and strength training as well. You got to start where you are. You're going to do fine in perimenopause if you move your body for 150 minutes a week. You're going to do fine. It doesn't matter if you have a weighted vest. You don't need a weighted vest to make it through perimenopause. If you are a regular worker outer and you want to give a little extra bang for your buck, like when I got my weighted vest, I actually tested the data on it. I am such a dork, and I recorded me taking a walk on this one path without it and me taking a walk on that same path the next day with it. And I burned an average of 1.5 calories more a minute. Okay, great. Um, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's my take on the weighted vests. Love it,
Okay.
don't need it.
Right. I mean, I think that some women might think that this would replace strength training or
No,
lifting weights,
God
right?
no.
And that's I think that's where the confusion lies. That this is not a replacement for good old strength
Absolutely
training,
not.
right?
It is
We want to
not.
be lifting heavy, right?
Yes. You want to be lifting things. So you want things to be functional. If at this phase of life, especially if you don't move it, you lose it. So functional movement is the way to go. And you got to load it up with weights. So the functional moves are squat, carry, rotate, push, pull, and hinge. If you can do those things and add load to that progressively, so in over time, increasing your weight more and more, you are going to not only build healthy lean muscle mass that estrogen depletion will take away from you, and strengthen your bones and the joints and the muscles around those bones, right? You are going to feel so much better. And your health span is going to be so much longer than it would have otherwise. Because when we have weak bones, when our joints are shot, when we have osteoporosis, when we're older, I heard a statistic, and I don't quote me on this, but I feel like it's 1 in 4 women will have an osteoporotic fracture in their late life at some point. And I mean, that's the earliest and easiest path to death when you're old, because
That's
you
right.
end up in the hospital, you can get sepsis, you can get, you can have complications, and then you never get out of bed again, and then you can't move anymore, and then it's over, you know?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So strength training is great for muscle mass, it's great for your bones,
Yeah.
right? And to help prevent falling and
Yes,
just get you
balance
stronger.
training, strength training, do unilateral movements. So one side at a time. That's going to help you as you age, keep your balance. But here's the other thing. Everybody's like strength training, but you still have to do cardio.
Well,
We
okay, so
still have a
that's
beating heart.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a good question because on in the social media like stratosphere, I keep seeing that like we don't have to really focus the over focus on strength training. I mean, strength training is great, but all of a sudden we should be just strength training and not, and backing off of cardio because it
No.
raises our cortisol and there's overtraining. And so, yeah, speak to me about that a little bit. I mean, walking is amazing and great. And
Walking is amazing. Walking briskly is better. Brisk is always better. It's going to take you into a higher heart rate zone. Walking on an incline is amazing. You want to walk or get cardiovascular activity that is going to raise your heart rate to that middle of the heart rate zones. So you want it to be moderate and moderately hard. So if you are doing the talk test and you can say you can still have a conversation, but you're out of breath when you're having it, or you have to like pause after a couple sentences, that's a really good place to be. Where we don't want to spend most of our time in cardio, where we used to when we were younger, was in that anaerobic zone, that high heart rate zone. It's still good to get there because, doing a little hit here and there is always good for you. It's so good for your cardiovascular health. But you're right. Too much of it is going to tip the scales and you're going to go into overdrive. We don't want that. So moderate hard cardio is the sweet spot for us at this age. And it's like endurance training versus hit training all the time.
so explain HIIT training. I know what that means, but just explain to my audience what that
So
stands
high
for.
intensity interval training, that's what HIIT stands for, HIIT, is a method of exercise where you go to your absolute max capacity, all out, breathless, trying at a 10 as hard as you possibly can for certain intervals of time, and then taking an interval of rest. So HIIT training is like, um, 30 or 45 seconds at your ultimate 10, 20 seconds off. Take a breather. You can do HIIT in a lot of different intervals. You could do 30-30, you could do 45-15. You can do it any way you want to, but it's about getting your heart rate up really fast and then rest. And then up again and then rest. Um, Low intensity interval training is kind of the same thing, but you don't get as high. It's not an all out situation. So if you're on a bike and you want to do HIIT, you're going to put as much resistance on and sprint as fast as you possibly go, and then absolutely rest. Take all the resistance off and just roll your legs and breathe, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. I'll
What
tell you
about
what my favorite method of training is, that it just gives you every bang for your buck. And in my online workout platform, I do a lot of this. It's called peripheral heart action. And peripheral heart action is a method of exercising. It is strength training where you shunt your blood from your upper body to your lower body over and over again. So you work in 1 minute intervals with weights. You do only upper body moves, and then you switch right away with no breaks to lower body. And you do this over and over again. A, it gets your heart rate into that sweet spot. B, you're doing strength training. Everybody wins, and you get to move on with your day. It's super efficient. It feels good. It gives you energy, and it's perfect for women in perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, it sounds great and very effective and kind of gets the job done, right? We're all busy and
Yeah.
just right.
Nobody has time for anything these
Yeah,
days.
exactly. But right, we want to start where we're at, like you said before,
Yeah.
and just so anything is better than nothing.
Oh
Use
my
it
gosh.
or lose
If you
it.
love,
Right?
yeah, if you love pickleball is great cardio. If you love swimming is great cardio. If you love yoga, certain types of yoga are great strength training, body weight strength training.
Yeah, and the time is now to start. I mean, it's not like we're
It's never too late.
that.
Also, exercise feeds into insulin resistance. It helps your blood sugar regulate.
That's right. Yeah,
And that's where the crossover between fitness and nutrition lie, right?
there's a billion benefits for
Hmm.
exercising, and then just switching our mindset a little bit that
Hmm.
goes from like taking those like high intensity boot camp classes only to strength training and building more muscle, and there's just a massive benefit for
And
that.
there's no difference between if you do a 45-minute class or if you break it up into three or four 7 to 10 minute increments throughout the day. I always tell my clients it's not an all or nothing, it's an all or something. So if you have an Apple Watch and that Apple Watch says to you, it's time to stand up, then stand up, do 15 squats, take a walk up and down the stairs a couple times, and then go sit down. It's better than nothing. It'll add up. It all does.
So let's talk about some nutrition stuff and those myths that I definitely hear and contend with all the time around menopause, perimenopause, and what we should be eating, what we should be like, should we be taking supplements? What are you hearing going into perimenopause? Was there any chatter for you like out on the internet about like what you should be doing as far as your food?
The only thing that I don't really know if it came from the internet or just from my certifications and research on my own is that so many of our symptoms are due to inflammation. And so turning toward an anti-inflammatory diet is something that I always suggest. I also always suggest that people stop drinking alcohol
I do as
because,
well.
yeah, there's no benefit at all.
Yeah.
And so those are the things. It's really an interesting. It's a hard sell to a lot of women in perimenopause, especially because it's a coping mechanism for a lot of people and it's very socially acceptable. I mean, how many t-shirts and glasses have you seen that say like mommy needs her wine
Of
and
course. I mean, yeah.
wine time and all that? I think that it's really socially difficult to break away from the socially accepted
Yeah.
have a drink to wind down because when you have that drink to wind down, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like boing.
Yeah, and being in perimenopause or menopause, it just gets worse. I mean, our ability to metabolize alcohol
Mm,
just gets worse. I mean, I know for me, I stopped drinking 7 years ago when I turned
mm,
50, and I just it just wasn't serving me anymore. And I totally understand that social brainwashing with it because I was in it.
yeah,
I mean, it just everything was connected to having a glass of wine with my friends. The benefits, though, of not drinking, especially in menopause, are just huge. I can't
yeah.
even like state it enough. I mean, it's just, but yeah, it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell
It's a
for,
really hard
because
sell.
I think because we're going through so much in perimenopause and menopause and just there's a lot to contend with. There's a lot of stress, a lot of new added stress. You're not feeling great physically. And if you're used to having alcohol as your coping mechanism, it's hard to unlink it.
I know you're like, give me my vice, just let me
Right.
have one.
Yeah.
The really diehard, I mean, when I was having I had a lot of anxiety toward the end of last year. I lost one of my dearest friends and it was just
Mm,
a lot. And
yeah.
I quit caffeine for a little while and it definitely helped. But now I'm back on. I'm like, I have one vice. Like, please just let me have my
Yeah.
caffeine. I just want to have a cup of coffee. Like, yes,
Yeah.
in the world of health and wellness, should you be drinking caffeine every day? No, but guess what? Like, I'd rather drink coffee than alcohol at this point.
Yeah, it's fine. It's funny you say that because I just stopped drinking caffeine. I'm not a big caffeine drinker at all. I drink 1 cup of like pretty strong tea in the morning, but I just wanted to experiment with
Mm,
stopping it because I know just pelvic and bladder health and everything. I was like, this is irritating. Like I feel like it could be irritating me. So let me just experiment
yeah,
and stop for a couple of weeks. And it definitely helped. It's helped a lot, but oh, yeah. So I'm drinking a little green tea. It's like not as strong as what I was drinking. The benefits for me, at least, of not having the caffeine. It just like overactivates my bladder. So it's,
Yeah.
just
What are your
something to consider.
thoughts on mushroom coffees?
I think they're fine to drink. All of those mushrooms. I mean, I think I'm neutral about it. I think that
Hmm.
there's, some health benefits, but you don't necessarily like need to waste your money
I mean, it
on
doesn't
some of
taste
these
like
things.
coffee, so
No, it's
why?
not coffee and it's not
No.
caffeine. And, it's funny. I just saw a study yesterday. Well, this was in the New York Times, so I'm not even going to say it was a study. It was just a observational study that they did. They were following women in the Women's Health Initiative. I think, tens of thousands of women, and they found that coffee drinkers, and this is just another, we've kind of known this already, that coffee, there are some benefits to drinking coffee. They don't know exactly what or why the benefits, like why is there a benefit to drinking coffee? But the conclusion is that coffee drinkers live longer.
Hmm.
So it's not a terrible thing to have in your diet.
Yeah, just don't drink it too late in the day.
Oh yeah, no,
I can't drink caffeine after noon. There's no
me
that's a
either.
non-starter. I can't do
Yeah,
it.
I'm so sensitive to caffeine. It's like ridiculous how sensitive I am.
I have
So,
become incredibly protective of my sleeps in my perimenopausal era. I'm
oh
like,
yeah,
nothing is going to mess with my sleeps. I am crazy.
I feel exactly the same. I mean, my sleep is everything, and especially I know what you used to be able to get away with, and you'll see it just gets like a little harder. Like it just everything just sort of like shifts a little, and my sleep is everything.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean,
Everything.
my day is just wrong if I don't get a full like 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
no, it's and that's hard when we go through menopause is getting a good night's sleep, especially if you are having night sweats and you're getting woken up like that in the middle of the night.
I have a
And
client who is fully postmenopausal, and she said to me last week, my hot flashes are, my night sweats are coming back at night. I don't know why. She's like, all of a sudden they're back. And I said, well, what temperature do you keep the room at? And she's like, well, we keep it at 76. And I said, okay, well, how about lowering that about 10 degrees?
you should see my room is like a refrigerator.
Oh, 66 in this house.
Yeah.
66.
Yeah, no, it has to. I know.
My daughter's like, I'm cold. I was like, put a sweatshirt
That's
on.
what I say too to my husband now. Yeah. So my kids are now older and not even living with me anymore. So it's just my
Mm,
husband and myself. But yeah, he's like, can we turn the heat up? I'm like, no, absolutely not.
yeah.
You're just gonna like learn to live with it. So
Learn to live. Learn to live.
yeah.
And isn't it just a delight to be going through this hormonal change at the same time that our kids are going through puberty? That's where I'm at right now. It
Yes.
is.
Yeah. I know. I know. It's just the whole menopause experience is just so strange
It
that
is.
we're like, why right now while your daughter's probably going through puberty right now, or
She sure is.
yeah, even right now with like I on my end, and maybe you have this, like I'm dealing with aging parents,
We are too.
and yeah, and that's a whole other super stressful thing that no one tells you about. It's kind of like menopause. No one really tells you what's coming down the line. And that you have to be, so you're contending with like all of these like things like all at the same time. And it's a lot to handle at
It
once.
is. My mother-in-law has dementia, and she and my husband is an only child. And it has been the last few years since her diagnosis have been really tough. Really tough. We've changed our lives to accommodate for moving her here. I mean, she doesn't live with us in this house, but we moved her. She was in Iowa all by herself, and we had to get her here so we could get her into a place where she would be safe. And but there is a moment where you feel like you have so many balls in the air being part of this sandwich generation of having kids who are, my daughter is going into seventh grade. My mother-in-law is losing her mind. And here we are losing our minds. And so I once heard something that I really love that I'd love to share with you. Somebody said once, at any point in life, especially in midlife, we have a lot of balls in the air. And every day we get to wake up and decide which balls are made of plastic and which balls are made of glass. And we are inevitably going to drop a ball or two, and that's okay. We'll just choose that those are the plastic ones that are going to fall from our rotation that day, and then we can pick them up and turn them to glass the next day. But that I think about that a lot right
I
now.
love that. Exactly. Like we have to give ourselves a break. Like some things are
Yeah.
just gonna like fall by the wayside. We cannot manage everything. And as women, I think we're used to shouldering so much.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The
Yeah.
silent labor.
Yeah. And that, I think menopause is this opportunity, if you want to see it as an opportunity to just start focusing on your priorities for yourself and your health and fitness and, making yourself fit somewhere in that slot of who's going to get care.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a trend on the internet right now. This amazing creator started the We Do Not Care Club. Have you seen this?
Oh, no, I have not.
So she gets on and she said, "Here's what my perimenopausal woman, we do not care. Here's what we do not care about today." And I find the entire trend to be just delightful, and it's so wonderful. And now all these women are picking and be like, "We don't care about this. We don't care about that." But
Oh,
it's
really?
actually such a gift. It's such a gift to be able to let things go in this phase of life. It's very freeing.
Yes.
It's very freeing.
Yeah, it is. And it takes practice, right? When we're used to just being, the caregiver for everybody, like
Mhm.
just giving out and not focusing on ourselves. It takes practice, but you got to do it.
You got to do it. And also you have to do the work to really think about what you care about and what you don't, because we get so used to caring about things that we don't even know if we care about them anymore. We're just used to dealing with them or doing them or having these obligations. But then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, I don't really care about that anymore.
Right.
And what would my life look like if I let that go? And chances are my life would be a little freer. I would have a
Yes.
little space to find something new to do, to care
Yes.
about,
Right.
or to put more of my care equity into something
Right. No, I
else.
love that. What would my life look like if I let that go? And
Mhm.
that's something I have definitely been contending with a lot lately. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
yeah.
you're in
So
good company. I think
yeah.
it's an amazing opportunity,
Yeah.
and once we get through this, it's what so many women say, the best era of their lives.
Yeah, I am starting to see it now as a 57-year-old woman, glimmers of
Mm,
that. But my like beginning like 50s into like I didn't I felt a little resentful about having to like take this on now.
I
Menopause,
get it.
like and all the like physical changes I was feeling and the emotional changes and it's felt like a big transition for me.
Yeah.
But I can see where some women have talked about like just feeling like, the wisdom that they've cultivated. I'm starting to see that now that I'm on like this other tail end of my like perimenopause, going
Yeah.
into postmenopause experience.
I think our decision to move this year has kind of forced those thoughts to happen now for me, because we've been in the New York City area for 26 years, and I am going home to my hometown of Pittsburgh, PA, which I said I would never do. And after losing my friend last year and just having a real come to Jesus of like, why am I here? Who do I want to be with when things go down? Like, who do I want to be near to help them out of this life? It's my family. And so, in getting rid of things, decluttering, I have been such a hustler since I moved to New York in 1999. I have hustled my ass so hard in the industry, in theater, in fitness, now in this menopause, which I did not expect to be a saturated market 2 years ago when I did all this work. And now it's, it's hard. It's hard to be heard. It's hard for people to trust you because there's so
Yes.
much noise. And
Yes.
so I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go. I just want a simple life. I don't need to be the center of attention anymore. That's part of my I do not care club. I do not care if I'm on camera anymore. I do not care if people don't know my name. I
Yeah.
don't care anymore. I don't care. I want to be, it's forced me to have a midlife reckoning, and I'm grateful for it because I feel once you start letting stuff go, you feel the pull toward the next thing. And so it's very exciting. I'm in a very optimistic phase right now about this transition. But, talk to me in October when it settles in and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do?
I'm in Pittsburgh.
What am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Go to mom's for dinner every Sunday, which is amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, where are my friends?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, but it sounds like maybe the death of your friend really prompted something
Yeah.
in you to just reevaluate what's important and who you're with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Important.
And cultivate lifelong relationships or search for the things that are lifelong joys because
No,
that's what it's
that's
all about.
yeah.
There's nothing else besides that.
Yeah. Well, so you at 49 are learning that. I think it's taken me a little bit more. I've had to like be dragged a little bit along on that, and like I've resisted, but I'm learning. I'm getting more comfortable in the place that you're at right now.
But this timeline is your timeline.
Exactly.
It's the
Right.
way that you are supposed to experience it. And in that way, it's beautiful and uniquely yours.
Absolutely. Yeah. So lots of transitions happen during this menopause transition. But let me talk about nutrition for a little bit.
Oh,
Let's just
please do.
backtrack a little bit. And just because there's so many those myths, that are out there. What are your clients or what, your people or even yourself, like when you started going into perimenopause, were you feeling like I have to get on a certain diet, like I have to start eating differently or change, things around?
Oh,
What's the noise that you're hearing also just from like clients? Because I can share mine as well.
well, there is the panic about the menopausal weight gain. That's what I deal with a lot, and why a
Yep.
lot of clients, that's usually the straw that breaks the camel's back for them to seek help is that they're gaining weight.
Hmm.
And which I have a lot to say about, but however they find me, sell them what they want, give them what they need, right?
Right.
What people don't understand is that menopausal weight gain is hormonal and it's not just about what you put in your mouth and it's not just about exercise, but it's about regulating your hormones as a whole. So the menopausal weight gain is a real bone of contention for a lot of my clients. And
Mhm.
so I do a lot of talking about visceral fat versus subcutaneous fat. I do a lot of talking about inflammation and fiber as the best thing. I honestly think, people talk so much about protein, and I would love to hear what you have to say about this. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about protein, and there's not as much talk about fiber. But I feel like fiber might be something that we need to focus on even more because of all the benefits that eating fiber has for us, for our gut, for our digestion, for our motility.
Just keeping us
Yeah.
full and satisfied.
Yeah.
I mean, fiber, yeah. So I totally agree with you on all of that. I think weight gain is the number one reason why women come to see me too, is that they've
Yeah.
suddenly gained weight, they can't figure it out. And when they've been on and off diets for decades, sometimes I have
Yes.
some women that they don't know any other way to eat except for being on a diet, then off a diet, and suddenly that's not working. And they feel very out of control
Hmm.
with that. And they get desperate, I think, and try to go on other different diets like intermittent fasting. But I think just back to like the protein versus, like protein is something that's so hot right now. I mean, it's like,
Like if I see one more recipe with cottage cheese in it, I'm gonna like throw myself against the
me
wall.
too. I know. I know. I'm like, so all of a sudden, cottage cheese is like the hottest thing. Like, no one's ever heard of cottage cheese before. Like, it's a new food. I'm like, cottage cheese has been around for a long time. You didn't like it back then. And fine, like it now. That's okay. But it's not, you don't have to eat.
Cottage cheese was actually my go-to pregnancy craving.
Oh, really?
I craved cottage cheese with sliced tomatoes and pepper, like a lot of pepper. That was my pregnancy
Oh,
craving. I still like it.
interesting. Yeah, I know. It's so funny what we crave when we're pregnant.
Mhm.
I know I had such oddball things when I was pregnant. Cottage cheese is great, but
It's great.
but the over focus on protein. I mean, listen, there's always a trend of the moment. Every time you think that like what other like diets, what other trendy things can come up, right now it's protein.
Yeah.
And
Just like in fitness, it's strength training.
right, exactly.
Everybody wants the answer. That's what it is. They just want, tell
Yes.
me what to do.
Right. Yes.
Tell
Just
me
tell
what
me
to
what
do
to
to
do
fix this.
and
And
just tell
it's
me what to eat and tell me how to exercise and just tell me what to do.
tell me what supplements to take. That's
Right.
that. I did that. I did that in, I think it was 2020. Before I got certified, I hired like a wellness coach and I was like, tell me what I need to take. And she gave me all these supplements and I took them and they didn't really make that much of a difference.
Yeah. You probably paid a ton of money,
Oh my God.
right? You're paying a ton of money. Suddenly you're like, why am I taking this stuff? Like, what exactly is this supposed to
Yeah,
be
but
doing for
she
me?
was like, you should probably stop drinking. I was like, hell no.
Right. Right. But give me all the supplements.
Yeah, so stupid. That was
Yeah.
me. I mean, I'm calling myself stupid. I'm not calling her stupid because she was right. But also, she gave me what I asked for, which was just tell me what to do. Just give me
Exactly.
supplements, you know?
Yeah.
Not blaming her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, so anyway, yeah. So people are getting crazy for protein right now. And I
yeah.
think that as long as you're just focusing on a good protein source at breakfast, lunch, and dinner and your
Hmm.
snacks, you're fine, right? For most women, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I also think it's very true that we don't have, because of diet culture and how we grew up, we don't really have a good grip on what a balanced diet looks like. And so, yeah, we're probably not getting enough protein or fiber in our regular diet because we eat a highly processed diet and we live lives of convenience. And so we have to make adjustments for that.
Yes, yes, and that takes education, right? Just
Yeah.
even me saying like just get a good protein source at every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I understand that people might not even know what that means.
Yeah.
What does that mean? A good protein source. So education is definitely is key
Yeah.
in this case. But I think with this over focus on protein, we're then sacrificing some other nutrients like fiber, which I think is much more important than the over focus on getting, so much protein. And we're really, that's one nutrient that is very, very neglected in
Hmm.
almost everyone's diet. And that we have to really focus on that. And that comes from plants, right? Fruits and
Hmm.
vegetables and whole grains. And the emphasis, yeah, needs to really be more on that. We could, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would
that's
love to see that.
definitely.
Yeah.
What other trends do you feel like you're seeing in, just in the menopause? Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about creatine.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about creatine.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really know enough about it to say yes or no. I feel like unless you're like a bodybuilder, I don't think that you need creatine. I don't think that you need to waste your money on creatine. It's not, again, it's not going to be that thing that's going to make you all of a sudden be free of your perimenopause symptoms or your menopause symptoms. Creatine is not it.
No.
Estrogen, estradiol is it. If you want
Yes.
your symptoms to go away, estradiol, and if you have a uterus, progesterone. That's what's going to do it. Like,
Right.
stop messing around with creatine and all this BS.
Yeah.
Just go
Creatine
get
is
hormone therapy.
fine. I'm no fan of really any supplements unless you need to fill in the gaps somewhere. But creatine
Yeah.
to me feels, from what I know and from what I've read about it, and it just feels like another moneymaker.
Mhm.
It's that I don't know if it's gonna, unless you were a bodybuilder, like you really, this is your focus, that it's gonna really move the needle.
Yeah.
on,
And it'll help with recovery if you're, if you're running marathons or if you're doing heavy, heavy lifting or training people all the time, or if you are like a professional fitness instructor and you're constantly moving and lifting and hustling, then yeah, creatine would probably be great for you. But again, like I said at the beginning, everybody's experience and needs are different.
exactly. Yeah. So we don't just all of a sudden have to start adding in creatine. Same goes with, I think, probiotics,
Hmm.
turmeric, obviously collagen powder. I think those three I have gotten in my world and in the world of nutrition a lot of buzz, huge amount of buzz, and
Yeah.
there's just not a lot of evidence
Yeah.
for any of these supplements. And then don't get me started on just like the supplements for like whatever they're called, like menopause supplements to help ease your hot flashes and, with herbs and vitamins in them. Those are a no. I mean, those are a flat out no.
Yeah. Save
Not
your
well,
money.
you save your money. Yes,
The one thing
exactly.
that I would love to ask you about, I've been hearing a lot about women um, taking GLP-1s for hot flashes. What are your opinions on GLP-1s for specifically menopause symptoms?
I have seen no evidence of using GLP-1s for menopause symptoms. That's not what they're prescribed for. They're
Right.
prescribed for weight loss and to decrease your hunger cues.
Hmm.
And taking them for menopause symptoms is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
have
I
a
think
lot
it's
of really
yeah,
unpleasant side effects.
they can
Um,
they can have a
they
lot of
can.
unpleasant side effects. Listen, there's a time and place, I think, for GLP-1s if people are
Hmm.
really struggling with with their weight and they have tried other things and but there's a
And for
yeah,
diabetes,
yes.
that's definitely
Yes.
proven that it's a lifesaver. And it's also a hormone replacement tool.
That's right. It is a hormone
So,
replacement. Yeah.
mhm.
But as far as specifically for menopause symptoms, that nothing can replace taking estrogen.
Right,
I mean,
right.
yeah. What
Agree.
have you heard about it?
Not much, just that people are starting to prescribe it for menopausal weight gain and, the hot flashes. It's just convenient. Again, it's like give me the answer with me not having to do any work.
Yes. I mean, I know more and more women who are taking GLP-1s when they do not have a significant amount of weight to lose.
Hmm.
So, and I that doesn't make sense to me because the likelihood of you being on a GLP-1 forever is pretty slim. And
Hmm.
once you go off the GLP-1, your all your hunger, all the all the benefits, all the weight loss is very likely to come back. So
Hmm.
you've really learned nothing. I mean, I think it would be a better use of women's time to learn the habits and the mindfulness and mindset around eating better and eating well than
Hmm.
just injecting themselves with a drug to lose weight to then gain a bit. Or if you are on a GLP-1, take the time, take it as an opportunity to learn some new habits while you're on it
Yeah,
because
do a little reset.
because you
It's a good idea.
probably will be going off of, I mean, unless you're on it for, the rest of your life, but that would be a long time to be on that
Yeah.
medication, I think. Although
Yeah.
we don't know a lot about the like really long-term effects
Mm,
of it like that.
true, true.
Yeah.
I think again, it's different for everyone. There's no right and or wrong answer for the combination that you need, but with any of these, so with if you choose hormone therapy, if you choose GLP-1s, if you it's a yes and. It's that and it's managing your fitness, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management. You got to
Absolutely.
think about cortisol because cortisol is going to mess with you if you don't regulate it, and you have to regulate it through awareness, nervous system down regulation, a good, consistent sleep schedule, and a diet that is not going to inflame your entire body.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm going to have you back on because I feel like we have got so much more to talk about.
Yeah,
We didn't
let's do
even
it.
like cover half of it and I'm looking at the time and so I want to have you back on to just finish our conversation about just anti-inflammatory diets, right? I mean, we've a lot that we didn't totally cover. So, but I want to just ask you one just last question. I think you sort of just answered it, but what does well nourished overall just mean to you? I think you just answered it. I mean, we're talking about sleep,
Mm-hmm.
our
Yeah, I
food.
think nourishment is such a wonderful word. And to be well nourished, you think about what feeds you, right? You think about what makes you feel satisfied. And so when I think about being a well-nourished person, I think about being taken care of. I think about caring for myself. I think about the quality of my life as a whole. It's a pretty holistic answer for me. Is to be well nourished is to be well fed, well slept, well exercised, and inspired and
Absolutely. Yeah.
creative and have a full life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think it means.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it feels well nourished, feels very safe to me. It just feels very
Yeah,
like you're getting taken care of. And I think that's what we need right now, a lot of
it
self-care
is.
and
And
and it
asking for help. Like, if you need somebody to nourish you, ask for it. Ask your doctor for that hormone therapy. Ask your partner to give you a massage when your back hurts. Like, just ask.
yeah.
Ask for space. Lord knows we need
Yes.
it.
Yes, and learning to speak up, right? And ask for
Yeah.
what you want and what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Erica, this has been a fantastic conversation.
So much fun.
And how do women get in touch with you? I know you're in the middle of a big move right now, but
Yeah. So they can find me at erikashannon.com. It's Erica with a K. You can also find me on all social media at Erika Shannon Movement. And on my website, I have everything from downloads on menopause and weight gain and brain fog. I also have a workout platform with over 100 workouts on it that you can log into. And I do everything from recovery, cardio, sculpt, kickboxing, and strength training, including some of that peripheral heart action that I talked about. And I also have a community, a menopause community, where it's a members only situation where people log on and we do challenges for our different phases of self care. We do challenges, we share recipes, and we have a book club. And so I have a special going on right now where you can get 1 month for free. And I'll drop you a coupon code so that your people can get a little extra.
okay, great. Well, I will put all those links in the show notes
Thank
so
you.
people can check that out. And thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Let's do this again.
Definitely.
Thanks, Heather.
And as always, if you loved this podcast, please consider gifting me with a 5-star review. It is so helpful for me to get the word out on real eating, our real bodies, and real food stories. Thank you so much and have a great week. Bye for now.